Do you know why Indira Gandhi offered prayer in the form of namaz? Or why Bhutta Singh was asked to keep his kripan andar? Let's find out. So, in this episode of The Politics and the Books, today we will talk about the book The Leaders, Politicians and Citizens by Rasheed Kidwai. Rasheed Kidwai is kind of an unofficial biographer of Congress Party. He has extensively covered Congress Party and have seen what others may not have even dreamt of. So let's dive in towards 5 key takeaways from this book. So let's start. The first key takeaway from this book is Congressmen thinks ruling the nation is their birthright. Around half of the congressmen have been sketched out in this book, and from A.R. Antole to Arjun Singh, a greater picture emerges is that the whole of their politics is to satisfy the first family or the Gandhis rather than working out for the people who has voted for them and whose their responsibility is to do work for them. Right from A.R. Antole, where he is setting up NGOs in the name of Indira Gandhi, siphoning of money, cement cartel, things like cement rationing, and Balasaheb coming in his favor at those times in 1980s. Right from him to Arjun Singh, all are into an active play of satisfying the leadership at the top, which is around Gandhis and their coteries, and really pulling the sitting chief minister down. Whether it is from Andhra Pradesh in 1980s, where Rajiv Gandhi famously said buffoon to the sitting chief minister and gave the plank to the opposition party or the new party, which was of NTR's Telugu Desam, and from whose hand they have served a great defeat. Full of the anecdotes are there from M.L. Fotedar asking or behaving, in fact Rajiv Gandhi asking Amitabh Bachchan to resign because M.L. Fotedar has asked so, or R.K. Dhawan doing his gimmicks around all the senior Congress leaders. By reading it all, it looks like they are making a mockery of a democracy, and Congress Party looks like running a mafia powerhouse where everything is being held responsible against the one top family boss. And this is a very lucid picture painted in this book. Also, there are anecdotes where free hand is being given to the Bhutta Singhs of the world, which we will come to the next key takeaways. So, Arjun Singh to Antole, the picture is the same. Everybody trying to pull the guy who has gone further up to down and making or leveling accusations which can't hold. The second key takeaway from this book is Congressman never learns. Obviously, the second key takeaway is a logical continuation of the first one. In the chapter which sketches Arjun Singh, there is kind of a sensational blowouts from Arjun Singh where he accuses P.V. Narasimha Rao, who was the Prime Minister of the country at that time, that he has went to an US trip and he has met Bush. And so he has met Bush Senior and he says that कि अब मेरा कोई और कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ सकता, which was kind of a very non-substantiated kind of a remark. Everybody knows what P.V. Narasimha Rao was at that time and how desperate Arjun Singh was to get the top post. So Arjun Singh kept on telling the CIA hand. Now what I mean that they never learn is the fact that right from 1970s when Indira Gandhi became the Prime Minister for the first time till this time when Arjun Singh was telling his CIA stories or CIA conspiracies theories, nothing has changed. If anything goes wrong, it is the hand of the foreign agency particularly CIA, trying to destabilize the country. They don't know further more than that. Even in Ayodhya, where Arjun Singh kept on saying something or the other on the pretense that he can't divulge those details in his lifetime, and he wrote a lot of things which doesn't add up to in his autobiography. It is a very unsubstantiated remark from the Arjun Singh for that matter. Also, they don't learn how to really make good use of the things. When Rajiv Gandhi went ahead and really opened the doors of the temple after the Shah Bano debacle, nobody knew that what the fallout will be. On the contrary, where RSS was really what we can say demonized, what it was demonized by the murder of the Bapu, the author very well articulate here is that during the emergency, RSS used this emergency thing to really put up a message before the society and the country at large of the humanitarian work or the good work they were trying to do, and RSS found it as a plank to sprung from there. So that is a lesson that somebody should learn in politics, that the chances do come, but if you are not prepared, the chances will never get out to you. Also, what they used to do is that in their own battle of sycophancy, that who is the best sycophant ever, they try to miss the broader contours as they had done in N.T. Rama Rao's time in 1982. They really try to satisfy Rajiv Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi for that matter nowadays or otherwise in the past, and they really miss the broader points. So NTR came to power, and that was completely that was not sensed by, apart from Indira Gandhi, so to say, that was also written in the book by C.K. Safar Sharif and the people. And this is a key point, that the congressman has got this loath or doesn't have the attitude to learn, and they will keep on digging out something that has been in the past and will carry out in the future without even understanding the full implication of that. Also, to prove my point, aside from the book, an interview was given by Rahul Gandhi to an USA University professor, and in that he mentioned that we will try to take the opportunity when granted to us by the BJP. So the interview asked that why you will be the part. He said that they will have a void and we will try to fill the void. Then the interviewer asked that why you are the only one to fill that void. A lot of time will pass when that too happen, and other people can also come around and fill that void. So if the congressman doesn't learn, that is a message, it will keep on happening, and the condition that they are in today is because of this particular thing, and this is my personal view. Also, there is a great anecdotes here about the leaders getting married. So a lot of leaders were getting married, be it R.K. Dhawan at a late ripe age, or it is N.D. Tiwari, which gives a message that when these Congress leaders are out of power, they tend to marry. They tend to marry their old friends or left outs or whatsoever, with due respect. But this is a message that has been there. A lot of marriages are being happening around. Now, as the two key takeaways from the book has been done, this is the third one, and it is again of the Congress. Viewers may be thinking that I am speaking a lot about Congress, but this half of the book approximately is about the Congress, so I am giving it much of its share to the Congress. And as Rasheed ji is quite a prolific storyteller about the Congress party in specific, I will not miss this opportunity. The third point is, in Congress, the harder you try, the mightier you fall. Be it Rajesh Pilot, N.D. Tiwari, Arjun Singh, or for that matter, even Pranab Mukherjee ji. If anybody tries or vies for the top post, he is relegated to the last. He is not questioned, and in their call being, it is their vanvas. Although a lot of punarvas also happens is here, but if you try harder, the mightier you fall. Rajesh Pilot came from a very humble background, and then he became a very, very popular leader who threw in his weight before time just to get his name reckoned in the future. It is being very nicely told up here. And also a Nara which could have been handy here, that since he was in the business of selling milk. So a writer wrote that some people say that it can be a doodh wala versus a chai wala, but nothing is lost. His son is still there, and those kind of things can still happen. They make a better read, but doesn't make a sense. Even in 1984, after Indira Gandhi's accident, Pranab Mukherjee thought that he can be really a suitable candidate for the post of the Prime Minister, and he threw his name what to find out to being expelled from the party, not included in the cabinet, and to be expelled from the party. Although there is a rare tendency of these leaders to come back to the Congress fold when Congress was in power and enjoyed the fruits of the power, be it like a process or be it like a anger for some time, it happened quite a lot. Again, with the ND Tiwari thing and Arjun Singh, they actually break away the Congress and formed Congress Tiwari, and then again after a year or half a year back, they joined to the formal Congress. So this was a very prolific process that happened in the Congress, breaking the Congress and coming back, and nobody actually was able to survive outside the Congress. It tells that they are being very opportunistic and doesn't tell much of the subject or the reasons of their leaving apart or raising their objections. Jiten Prasad made it more democratic to really rise from the ashes, or otherwise, I should not say rise from the ashes, but to stand up against Sonia Gandhi, and when he went there to other cities of the state, he was met by closed doors of the party offices. Nobody came in front to really support him. So much for the democracy, and it is very beautifully explained and sketched out in this book. The fourth key takeaway is that comes from this book is that politics mostly is unguided and unprincipled. It is opportunistic at its best. Sheikh Abdullah used to be a good friend of Jawaharlal Nehru. They shared nice political buys between them and the principals as well. And Sheikh Abdullah was instrumental in making Kashmir to be the part of India at those volatile times of 1947 and 48. That is very well sketched out in the chapter of Sheikh Abdullah. But what happens next is that he is being put up in jail for quite a long time by same Jawaharlal Nehru, not even understanding what he was standing for. Those whole things are gone from there. When you carry those principles further, that Antule and Bala Saheb used to fuel each other or to praise each other to make those other people or who are the adversaries of Antule look small. In fact, it was Bala Saheb's Shiv Sainiks who came in front of the car of Morarji Desai, and all those kind of things are being given in that chapter of Bala Saheb. So that was opportunity rather than any ideological stand of those times. Also, moving further, what we found is about Jyoti Basu in the Jyoti Basu's chapter about that historical blunder. A man, there is quite a phrase used in the book throughout, the best prime minister that India never had. In those things, in that category, Jyoti Basu's name is at the top, followed by Pranab Mukherjee and otherwise. But that historical blunder, when the party voted out, the CPM voted out, it was Jyoti Basu was asked to turn down that post by the vote of 27 versus 22. So that is very nicely given in that book. But that opportunity thing also came into my mind, that when politicians rather than serving the larger interest of the nation, settled for settling their own scores in between them, and that was something came around very nicely in the stories when you read in this book. Also, we have here what we can think about a lot of things that is happening in contemporary politics as of now, that Eknath Shinde really stabbed out the Shiv Sena boss Uddhav Thackeray. In the N.T. Ramarao chapter, there is a deeply discussed backstabbing by Chandrababu Naidu to NTR, and while you read that, you find a great picture which can really put Eknath Shinde episode to the second gallon. So nothing in politics is new, It is the timeless politics, only the players change, which I keep on saying, and that is very well written out here. When NTR government was toppled, so it is again Eknath Shinde, actually 40 years back. Because of the short memory, we Indians doesn't look back and understand what it was happening in Indira Gandhi's time. It was same what is happening today. It was this happened in Maharashtra, that happened in Andhra Pradesh, and the chapter has beautifully wrote it out. So the opportunistic nature of politicians really gets out when you read all those 50 characters and sketches. So at last we come to our fifth key takeaway, and that is very interesting. And the fifth key takeaway is politics come very natural to the film actors and babas. So there are a lot of film characters in this book, and there is a story about Devanand, where Devanand floated the party, Indian National Party in 1980 after the emergency, and he was greeted with great enthusiasm. None other than Nani Falkiwala joined the party, and really they all gathered around and everybody was very enthusiastic. The money was getting around, the funds were being collected, and Devanand made a speech which was kind of Narendra Modi plus Arvind Kejriwal missed at that time. But he couldn't contest, and finally he has to go away with that plan of contesting at around 500 seats in the 1980 Lok Sabha. So such is the nature of the political process and the political party, that the adulation doesn't turn up into the whole process of really contesting the election. Then there are stories of Chandra Swami, and that makes very interesting read, that how he went ahead to UK and with Natwar Singh's good help met Margaret Thatcher and made her to wear a red dress when she was supposed not to do so. Natwar Singh was also not very much happy with Chandra Swami, but Chandra Swami has his way, and then came finally his apogee, where all PV Narasimha, from PV Narasimha Rao to Chandrasekhar, and every politician was flocking to meet him and to take his advice. Such is the nature of Indian politics. Also, going to make things further, where Indira Gandhi, when he was not in his inner best, was asked to meet a Maulvi from a mosque of Kasturba Gandhi Marg in Delhi by R.K. Dhawan, and that Maulvi made Indira Gandhi to offer prayers in various ways and poses which look more like an offering of a namaz, and that was quite an interesting read, which actually tells you the point that how much sway these babas have over the politician. Is it because of the uncertainty of the profession, or is it about the lalach or the lure to be powerful, to grab the power? That we can't think of the answer. Also, there are episodes where Amitabh Bachchan was playing a key role in emergency by getting Sholay passed through censor from the strict eye of Vidyacharan Shukla. But when emergency was taken off and Janata Party was ruling, Amitabh Bachchan never went to the airport to take Sanjay, which made Sanjay very unhappy. In fact, Amitabh Bachchan was only rehabilitated when Rajiv Gandhi took reins. So there are a lot of lofty things in the book which will make you to really understand the nuances of politics, and that is why this makes for a very interesting read. This is the total 5 key takeaways of the book, and please leave the comment if you want the author. I will like, Rasheed ji is a good friend of mine, and I will like to really do a one-to-one conversation on the book. Please leave in the comment, and thank you for watching the show. Thank you for being with the politics and the books episode. Thank you.